On a textile line, one slip near the rollers turns routine into risk. Inside the production hall, large rollers feed fabric through the line with steady motion. The setup is designed for precision, drawing, layering, and winding without pause. To most, it looks routine and efficient, but every exposed rotation carries the risk of unintentional engagement. As the rollers continue operating, a loose piece of fabric brushes the moving section of the machine. The rotation catches it briefly before operators intervene, showing how even minor contact near exposed motion can lead to unpredictable movement when guards are missing. Never, ever operate textile rollers without guarding or secured material handling zones. Exposed rotation may appear harmless, but even minor interference can escalate into full-scale equipment entanglement. Inside a stone chute, what looks like a routine jam hides stored pressure waiting to shift. In the crushing area, rocks line a steel chute feeding material toward the conveyor. Dust hangs over the structure as large stones sit unevenly across the channel. To the untrained eye, the setup appears stable, but confined weight within the chute is never truly at rest. Inside the jam, pressure quietly redistributes through the compacted rock. Small internal shifts hint at unseen stress building within the chute. The setup appears calm, but even slight movement under load can trigger sudden release when forces realign. Never, ever inspect or clear blockages in a loaded chute without lockout or remote release. Stored weight and hidden pressure make jammed material one of the most deceptive hazards on site. On a high-rise construction floor, a beam rests across an open edge. When weight is applied unevenly, balance becomes uncertain. At the site, workers use a loose beam as footing while handling materials near the edge. Pallets of blocks surround the work zone, and the area lacks guardrails or secured flooring. To the casual eye, the beam appears stable, but it's not designed for use as a platform. As load is applied unevenly, the beam shifts under pressure, rocking slightly before workers notice the imbalance. The moment highlights how even small adjustments can expose the weakness of makeshift supports, prompting a quick move to secure the area. Never, ever use loose beams or temporary supports as working platforms. Only fixed and secured surfaces with proper guardrails prevent imbalance from turning into a fall hazard. A fuel tank in the workshop, one spark near vapor, and pressure builds fast. Inside an auto repair bay, tools and panels cover the floor. A used fuel tank rests nearby, darkened from prior use and unpurged of internal vapor. With no ventilation or inerting, the tank still holds unseen pressure risk. To onlookers, it appears like ordinary repair work, but the internal atmosphere tells another story. As the torch flame meets the surface, heat transfers through the tank walls. The residual vapor inside begins to expand rapidly, building pressure that stresses the container's seams. The reaction reveals how trapped gases, even in trace amounts, can cause a sudden shift in structural stability. Never, ever weld or heat a fuel tank that hasn't been fully cleaned, purged, or vented. Even trace vapor can expand under heat, turning confined pressure into a dangerous release. At a busy yard, a crane lifts heavy steel pipes overhead. When alignment shifts, a routine lift turns critical. The crane raises a bundled load of steel pipes, moving it slowly across the loading area. Workers and vehicles continue their tasks nearby, treating the process as routine. To the untrained eye, the lift appears stable, but variations in load weight and rig setup create hidden strain points. As the lift progresses, the rig's alignment shifts slightly under uneven tension. The bundle leans within its rigging, revealing how subtle imbalances affect load geometry. The moment highlights the importance of constant observation and correction during any lift. Balanced rigging, proper spacing, and exclusion zones are non-negotiable in lifting operations. Even slight alignment changes can generate internal stress and lead to structural instability. At a busy workstation, a worker leans close to the machine. When moving parts engage, the routine shifts in an instant. Inside the factory, tables are crowded with tools, parts, and half-finished assemblies. Workers sit shoulder to shoulder, hands moving quickly as the hum of machinery fills the room. The setup feels familiar, almost repetitive, with every worker focused on keeping pace. One worker bends downwards, concentrating on her task, while the machine continues with steady rotation. Then the hazard becomes clear. Exposed rotating parts spin steadily, creating a zone where anything too close risks contact. The motion continues without pause, showing how constant rotation demands clear boundaries and strict guarding. Never, ever work near rotating machinery without proper guarding and secure attire. Machines won't stop on their own. Controls, barriers, and prevention must always come first. In a steel plant where fire never rests, one unexpected failure turns control into chaos. The hall is dominated by a massive furnace, glowing with molten steel at extreme temperatures. Thick cables run along the walls, pipes feed energy into the chamber, and cranes move above, shifting heavy loads. The environment relies on containment systems to maintain safe and stable operations. Inside the furnace, temperature and pressure exceed safe operating limits. Containment systems strain under the heat, forcing operators to act quickly to stabilize conditions. The event reveals how even minor weaknesses in structure or inspection can escalate into critical system stress. Never, ever operate or maintain a furnace without complete inspections, verified containment safeguards, and protective barriers in place to prevent uncontrolled releases. A routine move across the dock until the surface shifts and balance disappears. Inside a busy loading bay, trucks are backed in and freight waits for transfer. A worker in high-vis guides his powered pallet jack onto the raised dock plate, bridging floor to trailer. Around him, the rhythm of loading never stops. Steel, pallets, and machines all moving in sync. The dock plate shifts beneath the load, upsetting balance in a split second. The pallet jack rolls slightly toward the gap before stabilizing as the motion evens out. The moment exposes how an unsecured dock plate can quickly turn a routine transfer into a loss of control. Dock plates must be locked, level, and tested before every use. Even a slight tilt can turn control into a dangerous fall zone. A quick turn in the aisle, and the racking system loses balance. The storage area is stacked high, pallets reaching multiple levels. Workers move through narrow aisles with powered equipment, retrieving and shifting loads. To the untrained eye, the layout looks orderly, but every rack carries thousands of pounds of material above ground level. The truck's forks brush against the lower rack, disturbing its alignment. The stored materials begin to lean and shift, spreading strain across the shelving system. Within moments, the imbalance exposes how one small contact can ripple through the entire structure. Never, ever allow equipment to travel close to racking without clear space and proper controls. Even a slight disturbance at ground level can destabilize stacked materials above. On a flatbed stacked with castings, balance shifts and control is lost. Inside the workshop, a truck is backed in for unloading, stacked with large cast iron parts. Workers move nearby as the side panel is open to access the load. To anyone watching, it looks routine. But without restraints, each casting sits under its own unstable weight. As the side panel opens, one of the castings shifts slightly under its own weight. The movement redistributes the load, throwing off balance and forcing nearby parts to settle unevenly. The moment exposes how unrestrained cargo reacts. Never, ever open truck panels or unload heavy parts without proper restraints or mechanical support. Large castings must remain secured at all times because once balance is disturbed, control is lost. Unsecured loads can shift even with minor movement. Always confirm restraints before release. Never rely on weight alone to keep heavy parts stable. A simple check before unloading prevents the chain reaction that balance can't undo. Don't forget to share what you learned today in the comments. Your insight could save a life. Take care.